Hello and welcome. The purchase request functionality enables the efficient workflow of internal approval processes for the requisition of assets, items, and resources. In a purchase request, both traditional assets, items, and resources can be used, as well as non-inventory items recorded as pseudo-items. With the final approval step of the purchase request, a purchase order is automatically generated. Approvers are automatically informed by email about a request. With the final approval step of a purchase request, a purchase order is automatically created. In this video, we explain the basic setup of purchase request functionality, and we will create a purchase request workflow and assign the permissions to the users. Please be aware, Packages and Carriers is a separate module of our Booster app and needs to be licensed before it can be used. To ensure that approvers are informed by email about pending purchase request reviews, it is first necessary to set up an email account in Business Central. Instructions for setup can be found at the given link. In the next step, the basic settings required for purchase requests are defined. In the purchase request setup, default values for the purchase request workflow are specified, such as the number series for purchase request documents and standard text used in the automatic notifications. Let's switch to Business Central. Now we open the purchase request setup via the Tell Me function. On the General Fast tab, we set an order type that is later used as a default for all orders generated from a purchase request. In the Number Series Fast tab, we enter a series that will be used for the purchase request documents. In the Instruction Fast tab, a description of how to handle the request can be stored. This instruction will be shown in a purchase request. Each purchase request approval workflow can also receive a separate instruction that would replace the text stored here. We specify in the instruction that for requests outside the usual purchase requests, a link to the product should be specified for the purchaser. The presentation of the instruction in a purchase request is specified by the field Show Instruction. We select the option Show in Register. With this option, the text will be shown in a separate Fast tab. In the Email Notification Fast tab, we activate the Email Notification toggle so that approvers will be notified via email as soon as an approval is required from them. In the Declined Offers field, we specify who will be notified in case of a rejection. For our example, we want that the creator and all previously approved persons will receive a notification. In the fields for the extended texts, we can directly create a text for releases by clicking New. These texts can be set up in the corresponding fields for emails for releases, rejections, and for orders. In the Description field, we give the description Approve and enter our text in the text field below. Please approve the purchase request. For the rejection text, we repeat the process. In the description field, we enter rejection. Then, the purchase request was rejected as text. And finally, we assign a text that should be used to inform the purchase requisitioner that the order has been created. In the Reminder Interval field, we can also specify the intervals at which approvers should receive reminders. After we have now completed the general setup, we will demonstrate the following necessary setups using an example. The example will be the purchase of hardware for employees. First, we will set up the purchase request approval workflows. In doing so, we define the number of approvers and who is responsible for carrying them out to purchase the requested need. For our example, the purchase request workflow is specified so that after a hardware requisition over $3,000 is received, it is first reviewed and approved by the team leader. The next step involves a further review by the purchaser. Their approval creates the corresponding order. If the purchase request is less than $3,000, it is sufficient for only the purchaser to check and approve it. Let's set up the purchase request workflow in Business Central. First, we open the purchase request approval workflows via the Tell Me function and create a new workflow there. For this workflow, we use the code HW and specify in the description that it is the approval workflow for the purchasing of hardware. Based on the dimension values, we specify the assignment of costs in the next steps entering the department and project code. In the Purchase Request Instructions tab, the available hardware options that employees can choose from are entered. On Approvers at the ribbon, we finally specify which persons should review and approve the requirements at which step in the workflow. For requirements over $3,000, the first review and approval in the workflow should be by the team lead. In this case, we select the employee and enter one in the level field and the amount in the approval amount limit field. The team lead should also be authorized to edit and reject the purchase requests in case of a review. Therefore, we activate the checkboxes Can Edit and Can Reject. Now, the purchaser should review the purchase requests once again next and create the order. For this, we select the approver and enter 2 in the level field. This user should also be authorized to edit and reject the purchase requests. If the purchaser is prevented from doing so, we enter another purchaser with identical settings. Both users are notified in parallel. However, it is sufficient if one of them reviews the purchase request and creates the order. Because we did not enter an amount in the approval amount limit field, these users always receive a purchase request, either for a requirement over $3,000 after the team lead's approval, or for requirements under $3,000 immediately. We have now set up the workflow and can leave the setup. After we have created a purchase request approval workflow, it is necessary to define reason codes. These codes are intended to document the reason for a rejection later within the purchase request. To set up these reasons, we open the reason codes list via the Tell Me function and create these by entering a code and a description. In our example, we create a few for incorrect information, incomplete information, and unauthorized requests. For non-inventory items, there is the possibility to define pseudo-items in the purchase request approval workflow, which are directly assigned to a GL account. In the next step, we set up these pseudo-items for our example. To set up the pseudo-items, we open the corresponding list. In this list, the items required for purchase requests are created. For hardware purchase requests, our example, we create 2 notebook models to choose from, which we will set up using new. First, we assign an item number in the number field and fill in the notebook description in the description field. Additionally, we assign a GL account to which the postings will be considered when the item is used. In the vendor number field, we specify the main vendor from whom the hardware will be sourced. And then we add the agreed price and the unit of measure. Next, we create another notebook model for the employees to choose from. For this item, we also assign a number and a description for the notebook and assign a GL account and the purchasing conditions. The hardware has been created as pseudo-items. The setup can now be closed. In the last step, we need to specify the users who are authorized to create a purchase request. Let's continue in Business Central. Let's open the Approval User Setup. On this page, all users who are also listed in the user setup are showed. In the Request Workflow code field, the previously configured workflow is specified for each user, which is automatically adopted as the default in a purchase request when that person creates one. Once we are done, we can close the setup. The necessary setups are now complete. To illustrate how our setup behaves in the workflow, we will now create a purchase request for over $3,000 in the system and send it. Therefore, we open the purchase requests via the Tell Me function and then create a new one. Since the purchase request approval workflow is already assigned in the approval user setup, it is defaulted in the corresponding field and can be manually adjusted if necessary. On the Instructions Fast tab, the instructions specified in the workflow are shown, so that as the creator, we are informed about which hardware we can select. On the Lines Fast tab, we now enter our notebook and send the purchase request via Send. Since the purchase request exceeds 3,000 USD, the team leader is now notified by email. If the purchase request were below 3,000 USD at this point, it would be sent directly to the purchaser. Let's take another look at what email to the team leader looks like. The team leader automatically receives an email to approve the purchase request and can open them directly via the hyperlink for checking. In this video, the basic setup of the purchase request was explained and illustrated using the example of hardware requests. Within another short video, we will show how to go through the complete approval workflow we have set up as an example in this video. For more information, you can also visit our online help at the shown link. Thanks for your attention.